I think it needs to get underneath that portrait over there. Oh, you might turn it that one.
You show me.
Alright, feel free to add your name to the list of people who are doing something. Already started in the middle of it here. You're going to be doing something like this. Just a quick announcement, we've got official photographer, by the way. We're going to start photographing some things here. If you don't want to be photographed, please let me know, because we'd love to share some of these photos. That's the official announcement. And we're going to be videoing these spots. I didn't really explain these speedos very well, I'm afraid, because we didn't get that many people taking them. You gotta have something. Okay, so basically the idea is you've got 2 minutes to talk about anything you want. So this is the one chance for your elevator pitch or whatever it is you want to do about your stuff. We've got a 2-minute timeline. Actually, we'll do 3 minutes. You don't know this way out too much. So let's see. Here, you still in the house? You gonna do something?
I've talked a lot today.
Huh? No? Fixing on the okay. All right. So anything you want to show, let's see, it's like you can talk about some idea that you have or something that you've done. Right now we have, well, we've got a couple online too. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. Yeah. So if you've tried to put this over before, guys, everyone comes back in. Now let's get ready to bring the speedos. Oh, there you are.
I think we got it figured out.
The
I'm just using Google Hangouts,
their
the new stream.
infrastructure is being used at the minute.
Steve, any idea on the screen? Not this, but the computer screen. You want to do that? Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up on the screen too. This is
Oh, there you go. Yeah, the screen on there. All right. Is everybody doing still with us? Okay, so the speedos, as they're called here now, we're going to just go through this list. So it's up here. So if you have signed up for one, see where you are on the order. If you're ready and on deck. Johan, we're going to start with you. If you're ready. And if you decide that while watching these that you missed your big opportunity and you want to do one, just we'll add you at the end. We'll have some time. All right. And Richard is our official timekeeper for the third time in 5 years.
I found my vocation. I tell you.
I love it.
Okay, I will tell you when you can stop when you start the counter. Okay? Okay, so maybe you want to note down this URL. It's also on my last slide. I will be talking about a service that we just launched a couple of weeks ago about linking vocabularies. And basically, the challenge is to with aligning vocabularies that some alignments are quite easy, and some alignments are more difficult. So we need to create a system that combines the two. So we want to have, on one hand, using automatic alignment technologies, and on the other hand, have experts looking at what is actually happening when those alignments are being made. And this service we call CultuurLink. It's pretty straightforward, the process. Post vocabularies go in. Then CultuurLink follows a number of steps. I will show some slides. And then the output is also SCOS. So what does it look like? So basically, at the moment, the hub contains a number of Dutch vocabularies, and we're now expanding them as we go. So this is the interface with, in this case, that we like to link. One is from, and the other one is from Sound Vision, where I work. And so we start with an easy string match, and this results in already 500, over 500 matches. And we can do more advanced stuff, also including alternative labels, so like scope nodes. And this gives us another couple of matches. And by going through the system, we create a linking strategy. So it can be quite advanced. We are supporting also stemming and fuzzy matching. And basically, the organizations that are now using this environment help us build a hub of linked data sources. It's hosted on this year, and so yeah, I invite you to take a look. If you go to the help page, you will find videos outlining the different steps, and we look forward to hearing your opinion about what we create.
We're live streaming this, by the way, so if you look at our Twitter feed and want to share with your friends, they are in Google Hangout on that chair. Oh wait, I'm next. All right, my name is John Voss. I'm with HistoryPin, and I wanted to show you. I created this blog post, which is on blog.historypin.org, so you can check it out too. But one of the things that we're working on is is cracking the problem of the round tripping of data. So with HistoryPin, people can put historical images sounds alike on the map. So for instance, here's bird sounds from the British Library, for instance. So this is up on a map. You can see this in one of our projects. This is how our new project interface looks. And if you look down below, obviously people can comment on these things, and they can add links. In this case, BirdWeb spoke about the specific thing. They added a link that shows up on here. So this is how you see it on the user side. And then behind the scenes, this is what we're working on with Europeana as part of EV3, Europeana version 3. You can see that we're using open annotation and JSON link data, JSON LT to basically code this information that can then be on the back we just launched in beta, which we'll use with Europeana. So Europeana, for instance, has created an interface so that they can put in a date and a time, a start date and an end date, in which they want to pull out any annotations that have happened. And so this is something that they built on their side using our API, and then it uses the Europeana API to transform it. So really quickly, on the left, you probably, I don't know if you can read that from here, but you can see what the output is of the each of the individual annotations. So you can see the motivation is tagging, equivalent to tells you what exactly they're tagging, what they're target is, tells you when it happens, gives you the ID of the annotator, for instance, so it gives a real name, it gives a type for person, etc. And then on the right side, the transforms takes that and maps it to the Europeana data model, so that's useful for them. And then finally, it gives you a response at the bottom because it's writing into their database. In this case, Brendan, who's helped design this thing, he was showing me how it works. It had already been written to their database, so it wasn't going to write it again, so it gave us an error. Cannot store an object that already exists. So this can be run as many times as necessary or after certain intervals, etc. So this is our first stab at breaking that round-tripping data, which a lot of people are utilizing, obviously, trying to figure out how third-party applications like History Pin can you access your data, enrich it, and then feed that back into the cultural heritage collections in their database, etc. So that's mine.
Okay, well, while it's thinking, I just wanted to share a project which I've been working on at the University of Lodlam. I work for Research Platforms Services, which is a bit of the IT department, which is about trying to get researchers in technology talking to each other more happily and going to the website. So this has been a project which is a three-way collaboration between us at Research Platform Services archives, and we're now looking to involve some research historians in the project as well. We were contacted by archives asking, who've been working on, yes, that's it, fantastic, digitizing a collection of Malcolm Fraser speeches. The University of Melbourne holds the Malcolm Fraser archive. He used to do a more or less weekly radio chat for his electorate. These speeches have been being digitized. And Katie came to us last year actually asking if we thought that the set would be appropriate for use at GovHack. It really wasn't GovHack ready, but we've been playing around with it for the last 12 months or so, and this is where we've got to. So you can see that we've sorted by category. On each of these speeches, it's possible to, it's a live link, you can click through, you can see the scanned PDF of the original transcript. There's also uncorrected OCR text, so we're looking at ways of correcting and cleaning up that OCR text. And using Python Natural Language Toolkit, we've started to do some analysis of the content of the speeches. So if you go through to the tags cloud, which is in that site, using NLTK to find bigrams and trigrams in the speeches, because that's quite a good way to start navigating a big corpus and finding sort of common topics. You can navigate by tag. So we're looking at other ways we can build in some of the analysis which we've been doing with NLTK. So that, I suppose, was the technical/archive side. It's just that one collection at the moment. It would be great to be able to add in some other sources of data, and this is where we're. It's come up a couple of times today, that triangulation of, I guess, the resources and the research questions, what sort of research, other data sources could we add to get a deeper picture of Fraser's life and his development as a politician? Can we use this corpus to test his claim that it's not that he drifted left over the course of his career, it's that his former party sailed away right without him? Even on a really superficial level, it's possible to see the way his preoccupations change from a local member in rural electorate talking about wool prices and foot rot to in 1975 suddenly the keywords being very different, talking about Mr. Whitlam and the Constitution. So yeah, that's a project I wanted to share, and if anyone would like to talk to me about it, come and say hi.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to show something which is very much something I do in my spare time, buggy and incomplete, and I'm showing you in the hope that somebody will do something much better. So I'm starting from the point of view that historians create linked open data or linked data all the time, they just don't realise it. They're creating and documenting entities, people, places, events, they're creating and documenting relationships between those events. What happens when they come to write it up? They squeeze all that structure out and it gets represented as text, as narrative. So all that data, that lovely structure that's been created, actually somehow gets lost in that process. What I want is an ability to have both. I want narrative and data and ways of exploring them both together. And that's sort of where I started from, and that's why I sort of keep on fiddling with this stuff. So this is a text here, and part of what I'm doing too is to try and make it as simple as possible, in that I didn't want to depend on any particular platform. So what I'm going to show you is basically just one HTML page with some JavaScript. So it's a text, you can just scroll your way through that text, and as you see, the sort of entities related to those paragraphs will pop up on the side there as you scroll through. You can start to explore more about those particular entities, those people, see all the relationships which have been documented between the people, the places, the events. Because it's all in there as data, and if we look at the page source for people who like that stuff, that's just the HTML, don't worry about that. But down the bottom here, you'll see that all that data is actually within the HTML document as JSON-LD. So all of that just gets loaded when the page loads, and the front end is in AngularJS, so you can then transform that data and display it in different ways. So it's just as simple as actually dropping in some other JavaScript libraries to actually view that stuff in different ways. So creating a basic sort of wall view of all your different resources, which is filterable by the different types of things. It's just another JavaScript plugin. Creating a map to pull out the geodata again is actually pretty trivial, as is a timeline. So just by basically creating and making available that linked open data in this form, you actually get all sorts of possibilities for creating different types of interfaces and having that sort of dialogue going on between your data and your actual narrative. So you see here, even when you're looking at a particular person, we can actually jump back into the text to see where that person's being mentioned and explore that context. So, yes, thanks.
I want to talk to you about a project that I'm going to start working on in the next year, and it's a funded program called Research Data Storage. And it's a funded program to build national collections of data to support data and technology intensive research. And I'm really lucky that I'm working in a team of people scattered around Australia who are looking to provide the ways and means to bring data that's going to support the research of humanities, arts and social science researchers here in Australia. One of the things that we're going to be looking at is making data available in different ways, potentially packaging up and making it available either through your own services or through e-research services that are supplied here in Australia, but also looking at clever linked open data ways to actually bring descriptions about that data together so it's possible to actually have a distributed national collection. We're talking about something called a meta collection, and we're interested in working with organisations that are custodians of data that researchers want to get access to. The really cool thing is we don't have any money to spend, but we do have the time. And we are really interested in working with people who want to test out some of the curatorial processes around perhaps packaging up your data and your population, making it available to researchers in new ways, or if you know about researchers who wanted access to your data and you've worked some of those processes out, for us to actually perhaps help smooth that process and also help you communicate how you've undertaken that process, because we hope to be a little bit more efficient and share the information around that change in the way that we deliver your collections. The data storage nodes dotted around the country. I work for an organisation called Intersect Australia, and we have one of those nodes, but we're not the only one. There's another agency in South Australia called EISA, E-I-S-A. There's a couple in Victoria. Actually, Fiona Tweedy's working with me on this. So, yeah, talk to Fiona too. Katie Hannon, Andrew Williams in South Australia, Daniel Mell in Queensland. There's a storage node up in Queensland, there's one down in Canberra associated with the national computing infrastructure. So we're very interested in looking at ways we can complement the infrastructure that's provided by cultural institutions to get researchers to that data, because we know that a good proportion of the data that supports humanities, arts and social science research is actually not necessarily in the research sector. It's actually held in the public sector, in cultural institutions. So please call us. We're really interested in talking to you. And while this is not a very exciting looking slide, I hope that the data underlying this is going to be a bit more exciting for those researchers to have a look at. So remember, I'll send out the hashtag, it's Research Data Storage, Culture and Communities.
So when we put the Getty vocabularies, which is the art and architecture thesaurus, the Union list of garden states, and the thesaurus of geographic place names, into linked open data, we thought, what would we need to know about it if we were going to use our own data? And so this site not only is a Sparkle endpoint, but it also is a place for a developer who wants to use our data to go and find out more about how to use the data. And I thought I'd give you a little bit of a tour. First of all, there's documentation here. It's quite robust. I mean, it's almost 100 pages of documentation about, you know, why we made the choices we made and you know, how to navigate the ontology stack. You can download full sets of the data here, and both the explicit and the full sets. We update the data every 2 weeks. Except last week because of something, but mostly it's every 2 weeks. We also have not only a Sparkle endpoint where you can just type in your own queries, but this query right here is a set of 90 so far sample queries in Sparkle, and you know, from how to do find an exact match. If you're trying to match your own data, you just click on this and run the query. There's also some examples of, for example, from TGN about finding countries that are part of the European Union, for example, or in ULAN, this is one of my favorite, non-Italians who worked in But, you know, it's because we have a lot of associations in our data that we've published, and it's a very rich knowledge base. It's not just a controlled vocabulary. We have multiple parents, so that and full translations in Spanish and Dutch, and most of it translation in Chinese, and about 2/3 of, or a third of the translation into German, and more are being worked on. We also have, you know, you can just do a text search. I was telling one of the groups that I always have to ask the editors which of the data items I'm going to show are you okay getting comments on, because as soon as you show anybody data, they always say, oh, but that's not how it is in Arabic. But once you get to the actual data, I don't have 2 more seconds. but you can go back and forth to human readable site. And then download the individual in these formats. So explore it and
Okay, so I'm Martijn Klepper, I'm from the Erasmus University from the Netherlands, and briefly want to show you the outcomes of a big European project that I worked on, and that's about finding television programs. So if there are any archives here that have TV shows, videos, whatever type of multimedia sources, this might be of interest for you guys. I'm not a technician, by the way, I'm a historian, but was involved in this project for the user studies. So what was the aim of the project was basically on making it more easy to find videos, and not only videos but also segments of videos, right? So if you now search for videos, you're using the metadata, great shirt by the way, but actually on our phones there are a lot of cool tools that you could also use to find some videos, right? So if you're using Siri, you're using speech recognition to get information, and you could actually use this speech recognition to find information that somebody is saying in a television program. And actually there's also something called image recognition, right? So when I was walking over yesterday over here taking pictures of the Sydney Harbour, this Google app, Google Goggles, gave me immediately all sorts of information about the bridges that I was looking at, right? By using image recognition. So what we were trying to access is combining these techniques, combining speech recognition, image recognition, and metadata. And we created a system, basically created 3 systems. I'm going to show you the Access Research System. It looks like this. You can type in any query. So I typed in the word Balkenende, which is a former Dutch Prime Minister. You get all sorts of videos where Balkenende is featured in, and we find this stuff based on the metadata and then in the spoken words. Not that quite interesting because I still have no clue where Balkenende in the actual video is. But then it gets more interesting because I can go to Google and get a picture of Balkenende out from the web. And what we can do and what we build is that you can upload the image, basically just like Google Image Similarity Search, you can upload the image into the Access system. And it then finds immediately the fragments where this image is being used, right? So you see on the left the fragments, and this is the actual photo that I submitted. So you then go immediately to this fragment where this photo is shown, and it works quite well. I hope this video works. So this is the Prime Minister again, not the photo, but he's giving an interview to these 2 ladies. Let's see if it works. Yeah, there we go. Because he's holding up a mask of the actual photo, and it really works. Scary but magical at the same time. So this project has ended. If you want to have any information, feel free to visit our website. The cool thing is we have an online demo showing how it works. I will tweet these by the way. And we actually also have an open access version that you can download. And you can upload your own videos in there to try it out. So please go ahead. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Can you hear me without the thing?
yeah.
Oh yeah, for the thing, we'll do for the demo.
Cool. So this is I'm Chris McDowell. I'm from the Digital New Zealand group at National Library of New Zealand. We're an aggregation service. So we collect lots of different bits of content, metadata documents describing all sorts of New Zealand content, and bring it together into an API to make it easy to find, share, and use. We've traditionally dealt with metadata that describes maps and photographs and manuscripts and audio clips and so on. But one of the things that we wanted to do is to link across different authority files, different context stored in the control vocabularies of all of the source institutions. So we've got an artist like Colin McCann at the Christchurch Art Gallery, at the Auckland Art Gallery, at Otago University Heritage, the university library, and the Museum of New Zealand Te Papa. And each one of these describe Collingwood Town in slightly different ways. So what we've been doing is we've been doing some linked data work. We're going to be launching our beta API, hopefully at the end of this week, with some blog posts and documentation around it. But I just wanted to talk about how we're doing the matching. So everything's been automated at the moment. We've been using phonetic algorithms in order to find similar names. So phonetic algorithms are totally awesome and amazing, and I might talk about them tomorrow if anyone's interested in it. But it's a way of really quickly generating sound-alike tokens for particular names. They tend to be language specific. Most of the names that we deal with tend to be English, but even then we're finding they're actually working quite well for non-English names. So we take these phonetic algorithms and we use those to do some fuzzy name matching, and then we do a bit of fuzzy date matching as well. So we pull across hundreds and hundreds of thousands of name authorities from different source institutions, and then we do this really loose initial match where we try and find all of the people who are born within this sort of similar time range, similar death range with similar fuzzy names, and then we do very fine precision scoring on that small subset. So from that, we've created a view of each one of these people, each one of these agents, using the Europeana data model, specifically in a JSON LD format. So this is what the simplest version of the API looks like. It's I really sort of tried to emphasize readability. One thing I'm really looking forward to talking to you about this, Valentine, tomorrow is that we're using the reverse operator from within JSON LD. There's actually no functionality within EDM, as far as we can see, to link from a person across to the records that they created. But so there's actually this lovely little reverse operator. So we're kind of bootstrapping it on the back. So we'll see what you're going to think about that. We're also serializing it to lots of other linked data formats. So if you plug it into JSON LD Playground, you'll get it back as all these lovely quads, and it'll be available as part of our Supplejack open source package. And that's my time. So thank you.
That is my right on Corey. I don't have any slides or anything, so I'm just gonna get up and talk for 3 minutes or so as soon as Richard starts my timer. So I'm Corey Harper from New York University, and I spend a lot of time just building miscellaneous sort of prototyping linked data systems, open source systems, and web apps. And then I spend some time engaging with the vendor community, particularly with Ex Libris, on essentially how they can add some of this content and some of this functionality to their own projects, their own products. So for the rest of the next 2.5 minutes, I'm actually going to put my Ex Libris hat on and talk a little bit about a success story about engaging with our vendors. Through the international group of Ex Libris users, going back to 2011, we had a set of presentations at the Igloo meeting in Haifa, Israel, to talk about linked data in Ex Libris products. And we discovered there were a lot of problems with trying to get Ex Libris products to do linked data related things. So we formed a special interest working group, which to my knowledge was the first of its kind in a vendor services users group. And we started trying to look at designing use cases and understanding how people wanted to use these products for linked data work. We wrote a manifesto that Ex Libris didn't like at first, and we had to cancel our first users group meeting and have sort of a behind the closed doors meeting with upper level Ex Libris administration, talking to them about what we were trying to do and why we thought it was important. But over the following years, we really started to sell them on baking this stuff into their products from the get-go. And it's just been an incredible experience to take some of the R&D work that I do and then feed it into the lifecycle of vendors' systems and their long-term strategy. We've had success stories. We got them in the latest release of Primo to include JSON LD API, where they expose JSON LD of any record that you have in your Primo system. It's got some problems, but it's iterative. There's a new round of it coming fairly soon. They're going to build the same thing into Alma, into their cloud-based LMS. And so, sort of taking this hat off again, just a little while ago, we had a session on vendor engagement. And I think we're going to pick this up again tomorrow. We started a bulleted list of heuristics for choosing a great link data friendly vendor. And we're going to try to cook that into a manifesto that we can actually pass around and have people use to make vendor selection decisions, to push to their vendors along with their RFPs, saying, this is what we need your software to do. This is what we need an LMS to do. This is what we need a museum management system to do, because museum management systems are even further behind in this space. Spend some time talking to us about it, and if you have vendors that you buy operational technology from, push on them through their users groups and through your contract renewal process to try to get functionality that will serve this community's needs baked into those tools from the get-go. Thank you.
Let's see, we've got a couple people are adding themselves to the list. So we're going to which is good, this is good. Con, you go next. You yeah. Okay. And then we're going to switch around. So Paula and Kyle, you guys are going to go last, and then Dan and Bounce.
Am I using it on time?
No.
You can do if you want.
Cheers. This is my blog. My name's Colin Tui. I'm an independent software developer, and I do a lot of work with web applications. And in particular, I have a thing about proxies. I think they're great. A proxy, is a system which lives in between two systems. You talk to a proxy, and the proxy talks to some other system on your behalf, and the proxy can do some interesting stuff in between. And to me, proxies hold a lot of power. I think they're of great value for the linked up to data community because they can allow people to build linked up to data systems that are actually just implemented using a proxy on the system that they've already got. And I was talking about this earlier, so people will have heard me going on about this. What I just want to show is a quick example of this using the Digital New Zealand API that Chris McDowell was talking about earlier. One of the data sets that's available through Digital New Zealand is Papers Past, which is the New Zealand National Library's digital newspaper collection. And so what I've done is I wrote a piece of software which I call Retailer, and it is a kind of a proxy. It's a simple, very simple proxy. What it does is it's a web server. It receives a request, an HTTP request, and it translates that request using an XSLT, which is a generic XML transformation programming language. So you write your little XSLT, it translates a request into something, and then returns the result of that something. So in the case of what I did here for Papers Past is I took a request which was an OAI PMH request, which is a metadata harvesting protocol used for downloading large numbers of metadata records, and it's often used to syndicate library metadata from one library to another. That's used by Trove, it's used by Papers Past to gain access to the data of their providers. So what I've done with this is I've written an XSLT which accepts an OAI PMH request, and it transforms that request into a Papers Past, into a Digital New Zealand API call. Makes that call, gets the Digital New Zealand API data back, and it then transforms it into an OAI PMH response. So it implements OAI PMH simply by transforming this other API. It's just a shim, a little layer on top of another API. So I'll just show you. Here, for instance, and I've deployed it on Heroku, which is that's where you can deploy where that's cheaply for nothing, in fact. Blow this up slightly. So this is a list of newspaper articles that mention this character Ted Kovato, who is a historical figure in New Zealand. And this is OAI. Notice there's a link here to the source. And here's this newspaper article about him.
I'm Dan Scott. It sounds. Is that it? Actually. Is that? Yes. Huzzah! I'm Dan Scott from Laurentian University. Who's used Zotero citation management? Cool. So we're using Zotero at Laurentian University to build a labor studies bibliography. And then we're going to use it to build a bibliography of all of the work that our researchers have done at the university. So in a linked data context, Zotero is great, except it's all strings, which makes me very sad, as it should you. Librstudies.ca is the very early prototype pilot of what we're rolling out this platform. And we use Zotero because it gives you the group library functionality. So you can have 4 or 5 researchers all contributing to the bibliography. And my colleague, Desmond Maley, is unpacking the chapters that are described within books. So he's really making a lot of the content available. So it's high value. But the group library that you get with the default Zotero experience is pretty slow. So I had said at the very outset this would be a great idea. It'd be easy to build something based on it. And then I ended up waiting until sort of the last minute. So the first pass was to take the RIS export. I looked at the mods output, I looked at the Zotero argument. It's extremely confusing and missing chunks, identifiers that didn't actually internally. So RIS is very easy to understand. However, it has its own problems. The great side of things is that it's very easy to add in URIs for a niche bibliography collection after the fact, since you have known names that you're going to be dealing with. You have to deal with the entire universe of bibliographic information. And it's super cheap running on Google Compute Engine. So open source, of course, openly licensed data, github.com/dbs/riz2web. And it looks something like that, nice and responsive. Most importantly, it's got schema.org, linked open data for the authors showing up. So we've got just a couple of different categories for that, just same as identifiers for VIOF and ISNI, as well as the websites for the authors' homepages. But the big problem with Riz is that it sucks. And even when you find a bug where data is being dropped silently, the response of the Zotero team was, just don't use it. And if you send them a patch to fix that bug, they'll throw it away. They really don't want to deal with it. And as I mentioned, all the other exports are a problem as well. So our approach is going to be phase 2 is just going to take the SQLite database underneath, transform it to Postgres, like everything should be, and then build from there. So, thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Valentin Shah from Europeana. So as you probably know, so Europeana is aggregating data from all the cultural institutions in Europe. So as you can imagine, multilinguality is a big challenge for us. So the way we have tried to overcome this issue is to link to more controlled vocabularies. So we do it either by encouraging our data providers to include linked data URIs in their data, or we do automatic enrichment by matching literals with vocabularies.
So we were speaking about interfaces and AAT.
What I wanted to show you is what we did by using AAT. So we worked, when AAT was launched as linked data, we decided to work with a couple of museums that were using AAT identifier. And we asked them to replace in their data their identifiers by the new AAT linked data identifier. So for example, for the Museo Galileo in Italy, it's what they work with us to do that. So we received updated data with some, here you see some link to AAT. So what we do in Urbana, so from the AAT link, we dereference them and we get the literal. So for example, our class is coming from AAT. So what we do is we dereference the link and we fetch all the data from the AAT website. And what we are really interested in is all the multi-label lab labels, because for us it's really useful. So we fetch all those data, we index them, and then what it allows us to do in our portal. So for example, if you are a Spanish user and you decide to translate the interface in Spanish, so what you will get is the term will be translated in Spanish based on the AAT provided translation. And in the same way, if you search for this term in Spanish search, then you will be able to hit all the other results that also use this AAT link. So for example, if you search for Lodlam in Dutch, you will be also able to find this result, even if the metadata were described in English or in another language AAT is using. So it's one way of using data in our interfaces and improve your search and user experience.
Sorry, I'm that annoying person that wants to swap.
Hi, I'm Paula. I work here at the State Library, and we have started a lab called the DX Lab, and it's kind of an experimental incubator of innovation, and we work with our data sets and and I just wanted to show you really quickly our first API experiment. So basically we've built this interface which we've published before we've actually finished, and it's a kind of different way of looking at some of the data from our ACMS record located around 3 locations in Sydney and the Botanic Gardens. It's called Bloom, and this is the first phase, and it's a bit of a different way of looking at the collection records from 2000 back to 1870. In fact, it's probably recommended. Each record you can pull up as an image, but you get to flip the library card. So we kind of wanted to celebrate that librariness of what we're doing. You can get some of the data coming through, the year, the location, the digital order number, but you can also explore and kind of float through the archive through the topics which we've pulled in down here. So you can just keep playing the whole range of data in different ways, exploring some of the collection. You can star up your record, but you can also jump out to the ACMS record to go back for the deeper data within the record. But I actually just want to show you the next phase, which is the kind of full Atlas phase that we're building. So we're building 3 phases for this product called Bloom, and I think this is starting to look kind of interesting. So this is the same data, but through a map view. This is dummy data at the moment, but we're working with the same locations, spreading it out a bit further, and as you go through the decades, you'll get to see these peaks and troughs. And you'll also get to see what's underneath the map, which is actually the undigitized content. So as you go through time, you'll be able to kind of drill down deeper and get all the links back to the ACMS record of all the data that exists in relation to those content stacks. So love to talk to some people about this and see what they think, because this bit's not live. And the next phase we do will be just a pure metadata phase. So you'll be able to go through from the loosely phase to the map phase to the metadata phase. So that's us.
Hi, my name is Carter from the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences, also known as Carter Museum, and the Sydney Observatory combined. I just wanted to show you just a really quick project we did concerning data. It was kind of the inspiration for me doing here. We had to build a web app for an exhibition called Wartime Innovation, and it was in line with the anti-gay celebrations recently. And we had to build like a kind of gallery, and it's all images from our material collection, about 400. I think 300 of the soldiers in that exhibition, but in that collection, they were all identified. There's about 100 of them that no one knew who they were, so it's just trying to help identify the soldiers. And we just imported all of the data into a Google spreadsheet, and then I got the curator to get an intern to fill the rest in. And yeah, he did a pretty good job, and I could keep track of it, having to view and missing the Google spreadsheet. So then it kind of there's a little trick where you can access a special URL, and then you can get an API out of it. It's pretty ugly, as you can see, so we cleaned it up. And using a bit of PHP, and then we kind of turned it into this. And so you can switch between the known and the unknowns, and then you can view the actual images, and then all the data's down there, rank, and then the return date. And then you can also zoom into the images and kind of see the P's and I's. And yeah, I'll just quickly show you a video of the institute. And we used 3 touchscreen monitors. Originally we were going to use an iPad, but this was just much larger and it seems to be more engaging and smaller than an iPad. And we went a bit far, and also we've got analytics all behind it, Google Analytics, so we can track which is getting into your. And that's it then.
All right, round of applause for all of the speedos. Awesome! We're going to take a 1-minute break while we get ready for the next thing. It's just going to keep going from here in intensity for the rest of the night. All right, Richard, come on up. Yeah.
So we have yeah. So
I've been sending to you.
Right, we better start because we've got quite a bit to get in at. And I'm not going to concentrate because there's a guy eating an ice cream at the back. But so this is the challenge. Who's not aware that we've got a challenge going? Good. We've got a challenge going, that's great. There was a challenge program put forward with some interesting prizes, including the 5 top chosen people come here to present, which is a great prize just in its own right. We had 19 entries, which are not all available on the web, but we might be able to do it later. Don't know. But the attractive prizes, apart from the trip there, was a grand prize of $2,000 US. I don't know how that matches with Australian dollars at the moment. So we got very fine. So $2,000 US grand prize, and then we got 2 sponsored prizes of $1,000 each. And I'm going to ask the sponsors of those prizes to come on, just say a few words about the reason behind them sponsoring this. So I'm looking for the guy from Synaptic. Where is he? There you are. He's stood behind me. Dave.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, Synaptica is a software company that makes knowledge organization software. Been doing this for 20 years, and we've really just been in the business of what I always thought was the end game of making knowledge discoverable. It's really about making knowledge shareable. And so the linked open data movement is such an exciting thing to get more involved with, because it's just revolutionary in terms of sharing knowledge. So we want to support that in many ways. And as a company, we have 3 things we're doing about it. One is developing more linked open data tools. And I'm very interested by Corey's comments earlier about creating a vendor manifesto. That makes perfect sense. We also want to encourage the community to publish linked open data. And so as a vendor, one of the ways that we've decided to do that and encourage that is simply by saying, if you publish linked open data, then you get preferential rates on anything that we do. So it's just a financial incentive to say, publishing data as open data is a good thing. And then the third thing that we decided to do was sponsor events and prizes like this So that's one of the other reasons that we're here today. We called our special prize the Open Data Prize, but really it applies to pretty much everything I've seen here today and in the lead up to today. So we hope that this will provide encouragement for the sorts of projects that we've seen, and we look forward to seeing all the 5 challenge entries now, and one of them will get our Open Data Prize, but it's going to be a tough choice because everything that we're seeing is just fantastic work. And we've got a multimedia prize that's been presented by Sound and Vision.
Hi, so Sound and Vision is the audiovisual archive of the Netherlands. We do quite a lot of projects experimenting with linked open data in the multimedia context. So you looking at time-based media. And so for us, sponsoring this challenge was an opportunity to get a sense of what is happening in the multimedia field, so what audiovisual archives are up to. And also maybe next year we can rename Lodlam to Lodlam because we can also add audiovisual to the something to maybe think about.
What we're going to do, we're going to get a presentation from each of the 5 finalists. Some of them are going to play their videos, some of them are not. Hopefully there'll be a little time for, say, 1, maybe 2 questions after each presentation, but we want to keep it short because I think we're going to do with alcohol a little bit further down the line. We don't get away with that. So I'm going to run through them fairly quickly. So the first one is the Open Memory Project. Can we have the Open Memory Project up here, please? Yes.
We will show a piece of our video.
There is audio.
Alle pakketten jas, los, los, los. Niet draaien. Vrouwen, rechts. Nee, links, los, los, los. Los.
A large amount of information on the victims of the Shoah is published by such institutions as the Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, the Holocaust Museum in Washington, the Centre de Documentation Juive in Paris, and many others. Each institute makes available on the web data coming from documents, testimonies, and other sources available to them. The Yad Vashem database of the names of the victims of the Shoah, for example, includes 7,500,000 names. Actually, each name doesn't match to a single person. To meet this challenge, we decided to use the linked open data technologies to reconcile the names to the persons and the persons to the related resources available on the web. Our starting point and case study has been the CDC's database on the victims of the Shoah in Italy. 25,000 names of Jews persecuted in Italy, the related biographical data, persecution and deportation information about them and their relatives. The first step of this process was the creation of the O ontology on the Shoah domain. Through it, we provided a formal description of concepts and relationships typical in the persecution and deportation of Jews in Italy between 1943 and 1945. Arrest, imprisonment in Italy, deportation to Nazi concentration and extermination camps, fate. Thanks to this work, now it's possible to query and download this.
Better how it works. Use the microphone. Sorry? Use the microphone.
Okay. Sorry. The Contemporary Jewish Documentation Center Foundation in Milan has been the first European Jewish institution to apply the semantic web technology to the scientific research on the names of the victims of the Holocaust. The Open Memory Project has been developed in this framework and has two aims: reconnected more than 9,000 names and biographical data of victims of the Shoah in Italy and publishing this data on the web. This task has been creating a domain ontology on the Holocaust to define all the data coming from original databases and publishing this data on Sparkle endpoint and on a web portal. Starting from this project has found a starting point and main core in CDC victims of the Shoah. And to today, we worked to reconnect and integrate different sources coming from library archives, such as audiovisual archives and archives of CDC Foundation, and using our ontologies, interlinking Sparkle endpoint and IRIs. Up to this stage of research, the names of victims have been semantically linked to the names and data of their relatives and place and reference to the place where they were born, where they lived, where they've been arrested, interned, and deported. All the persons are also linked to others who live the same persecution experience. This semantic reconnection of individual to other individual is the first ever realized in the world about the victim of the Holocaust. The Open Memory Project expounds the internet-based research possibility of scholars and family members and allows the construction the stories of families that were separated by the persecution. Laura should go.
Yes, this is the homepage of our digital library, and this web portal is particular because it was built combining a traditional web interfaces and web technology. This digital library works as a point of access and as an open gate to a plurality of information and information and resources that never done before. So there are, in fact, in the pages of the web portal, there are different points that distinguish this web portal from the other ones similar to. The first is the coexistence in the same pages displayed like this of information coming from the internal, like institute, for example, and from the external that is linked in the cloud, for example. And this kind of result is pretty unique, and as you can see from the slide, this is, for example, about Prima Lady, and this in this page you can see the information coming from the internal, and in the next you can see the information coming from the external, which is the link that we have found. And the second remarkable point that I want to point out here is the direct access that you can have from this page to the raw data about biographies and persecution experience data of every single person published. And so you can browse the browser. These are the information about Prima, and you can do also query. You can also query this data according to your need, and using the virtuoso Sparkle endpoint provided by our server. And this is one of this is a query about the person transferred from an ESI camp to other ESI camps during their detention. And this query, I think that they are most useful for the researchers, even though it's difficult to make it. And they are very useful because the researcher can integrate this data into their spreadsheet, and in this way produce new knowledge. And so I think this kind of it's a surplus value of this kind of format of publication, and I think that it can change the way we do our historical research and general Thank you.
Thank you very much. One thing I did meant to say earlier on, the organising committee are watching these presentations, and overnight they will be making their decision. We'll have the awards tomorrow afternoon. Right, next we've got Live View goes Lab.
Thank you. I will not show you a video. I'll try to make a video myself. And I have some slides here, just 68 in 5 minutes. Okay. So go. Okay, Love View goes now. So what is Love View? Love View is two things at the main time. It is a website. You can browse the entire web of data using Love View. You can browse all the resources out there if they are published according to the W3C standards. And is an IRI dereferencer. Okay, what's that? An IRI dereferencer is this. If you want to publish at the same IRI your data for the machine and the web pages for the humans, you need an IRI dereferencer. And Love View is an IRI dereferencer software. So, let's go deep inside the interface. Love View is ready to be used right now. You don't need any developer, web developer, to deploy it and publish your data. Just put your logo over there and choose one of our beautiful colors. And it is ready and beautiful out of the box. Okay. So, this is the main title of the resource, and this is the IRI, and this is the main description shown in multi-language. Okay, and this is the widget area. Well, let's keep it. We come back later. This is the literal information, the literal truths of the resource. They are grouped by meaning and by language, and direct resources. They are shown with their own titles. And these rules to understand the meaning of these rules and title are useful for you. And the inverse relation. All the things that are pointing to this resource in this very domain. And they are browsable too with their own title. And the load cloud view. So if you connect your resource with something on the web of data, we take that something and take all of the things that are connected to it, and we collect them all and show it in a single page. This is why we are building the web of data, to see all this information coming from different sources in the same place. And a lot of you do it every time you open a resource. So this is the future, and you can override the content negotiation and get your data deck with simple links. Widgets. LoveView is able to identify some interesting tropos into the resource and show them into widgets. And there are multimedia and so on. This is an image widget. Okay, simple. This is a map widget. So you can localize, thank you to OpenStreetMap, the resource on a map. And this is the easy link to the .cloud that is a widget too. Okay, but coming here, we make a promise. And we say, we will develop something new for you if you select us. So we make 3 new widgets for you. Okay, the first one is a video player. Okay, it plays video. You know. Oh, actually, it plays really great, but I not. Okay, use it. Okay, the second one is an audio player. It plays the MP3, the reference into the resource of audio or other stuff. And use your music. Okay, okay, it's working. And the third one is the family tree. Okay, the previous one were simple. The family tree is another thing. The family tree, let's take a look at the family of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Okay, this is not the canonical way you imagine a family tree. Now with the line and the connection, because this is based on DBpedia data, and DBpedia is quite a mess. No, I tried, but it's not possible to connect in that way the people of the family. But this is like, you know, last Christmas dinner. There are the grandparents and the grandchild and all the relatives to John Fitzgerald Kennedy. You can look at the labels and switch between labels and images and browse the family tree. So let's click on the father of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Joseph Kennedy, and his family. And John Fitzgerald Kennedy now his children. And we can move on Elizabeth II and his family tree. No, the royals have big and beautiful family tree. And the father of Elizabeth II, George VI. So that's it, I think. But I have to say that LoveView is free and it's an open source software. It is ready to be used right now. It's recently born, but it's adopted from by a lot of institutions and a lot of projects. And is made by me, okay, here in Sydney, and by my colleague, Alessandro Andruccio, that is Venice right now. And we have the Lodlam team. We developed the Lodlam before this, and we are very happy to be here, so that's it.
Okay, next one up is the Access project, enhancing Europe's exchange in cultural, educational and scientific resources.
Vast even tot ontbijt maken? Oh, oké. Ik maak even wat brood, hè?
It's really a pleasure for me to present our EU funded project enhancing European
cultural and scientific content, especially here in Sydney. And on one hand, not aware of selected panelists, but especially the sessions I visited today, there were 2 sessions, gave me the impression that we are really on the right way, especially the last session regarding the collection management systems showed me that we are still dealing with the same problem, large and huge amount of cultural content in the so-called long tail. And there is a really huge amount of this household label, but nevertheless, most of it is hidden somewhere in the world on web pages no user knows about. On the other hand, we have a strategy, still a strategy of content providers and users. They still create more and more single portals, websites, where the user must get know about to be able to use this data, to use this high quality cultural information. And therefore, many cultural institutions invest much personal effort, but also amount of money in social media marketing like Facebook, like Twitter, just to get their information known by the public, by other professionals. On the other side, we have the user, public user. They do use major search engines like Google or something like this, and they use, especially we heard it before as well, just to get to cultural, regarding this cultural information are already available on the web. So our motivation to invest effort in this domain, in this direction, was we wanted to take the content to the user, not the user to the content. So we thought about how can we provide solutions for making this long-tail content available and usable by the public and by professionals. In other words, we want to make a bridge between the distance of the user that do not know the content, and of the content provider that have the content available on the web, on the all over the world. By enriching these, or by making this rich and enriching the information, and this retrieval of information, the results can be enriched by new information, and new information can therefore be discovered. If we bring the user to the content, to the websites he is already using, and we can verify facts. I will show you now how our solution, our thoughts were about this fact. EXS, the projects, the solutions, we are aiming at this, that EXS injects related content into existing, regularly used websites. So we will not create new websites, new portals, but go with our content, with your content and our solutions, our features, to the used websites, media or other websites as well. So more interested stuff to specific topics from the cultural domain can be spread all over the world to all users. We want to suggest relevant content to the user wherever they are on the web. So it doesn't matter if they are using some server applications like Google or Wikipedia or other websites where they are looking for or interested in content. We're taking the keywords out of this content and out of the browser history of the user and recommend, add additional information to this website. What does it look like in the first prototype? We have talked in the afternoon about plugins. How can we use plugin and bring content to plugin? This was our first solution, our first step to develop a Chrome browser plugin. You see it here on the right, and offer not only the main information of the web page, but also real content coming from participating cultural information systems. As I already mentioned, we do not create new portals, we do not harvest data, we do not collect data, but by using the APIs of these cultural information systems, we recommend and add relevant data that come from the locally offered data repositories. The plugin is at the moment optimized for the Chrome browser plugin. As I mentioned, it was our first step, but in the meantime it works on the other websites as well, where you get information in image and text on the right side within this plugin. But it's not only the plugin, the toolbox behind is using the user profile component on the one hand, but the heart of this solution is the recommend system, where the information that we want to show you depends on your personal interests, depends on your topics you are actually serving on the web. Additional components for exploring the results in video, in images, but also in a timeline or geographical representations make the visualization of the results very different for all users that are interested. Besides the Chrome browser plugin, we also have a plugin for WordPress and for Mood, for instance, to help also the content creator while editing a blog, for instance, helping them using cultural information for their blogs and their information. Mood is the learn management systems. It's spread, European spread wide use. I don't know if it's in Australia there as well, but the teacher uses it to create their lessons, and they are also getting content from cultural information to prepare the lessons for the pupils. Who are we? We are 10 different partners from all over Europe working together in this project funded by the European Commission. We are scientists, we are data provider cultural institutions, but we are also end users working together, and as you can see on this picture, we have really fun working together in this project. What are my hopes? What are my recommendations for you to remember after my presentation, after this Lodlam summit? First of all, we want to bring the content of you to the top youth cultural institutions. The prototypes are already available via the project website or GitHub. And I hope that some of you are interested to participate in this EXS framework network, because all of you have digital available content on the web. So if you are interested in the project, in participating in the project, please contact me during the open. I'm here during the project website exs.eu. The main reason why we took part in the challenge was that we are interested in you as a content provider on one hand, but also a service provider and software solution provider as well, for taking over our features, for taking over our ideas and participating with your content in our framework. Yes, that's it from my side. Thank you for your attention.
You have paid it tonight, the price giver's not paid tonight. Right, we're now about to hear about preservation planning ontology. we are.
Hi, so my name is Justin Simpson. I work at Architectural Systems on the Source Archive project. This proposal is about creating a preservation plan ontology for a data approach to digital preservation. So I'll start by what is the promise of the semantic web? At its base, it's about converting web documents into a web of data. So the ultimate goal of the web of data being able to enable computers to do more useful work and to develop systems that support trusted interactions of open networks. So I believe that's what we're trying to do. So what is the premise of this preservation planning ontology? Based on the fact that collecting institutions generate preservation plans. These get generated as documents, and these are something that should get turned into data. So preservation planning data would be an important view of the data set that can be shared amongst libraries, archives, and museums. There's a lot of work that gets done in silos right now to figure out how to take care of digital materials within institutions, and this would be a way for people to share that knowledge. Okay, so when I talk about preservation planning, there's been a lot of work done to define what that means. And all of that work is defining a course of action, so a set of specific tasks that an institution chooses to take to preserve their content. And it usually gets written out as a document of a preservation plan. And there's been a lot of work done in the world of automating digital preservation, but the preservation planning area, as this slide shows, there's a lot of plans to do stuff in the future, but not a lot has been done yet. So there are lots of preservation planning documents out there. Here's an example from Simon Fraser University in Berkeley, where I live. This is an example from the Library of Congress, another one from the British Library. All of these things are documents. They are kind of step one on the path towards a semantic web. So now I'll talk a little bit about digital preservation. We are trying to make sure that we keep the content available for continued access for as long as it's necessary. So preservation planning data is the goal of my proposal. As you can see, the idea is to find a way for people to define their preservation plans in a way that they can share with other people and learn from each other. So here's an example. On the left, I have a preservation plan from Simon Fraser University, which lists on this page formats that the archives chooses to accept on ingest. And so you may be able to take this sort of word table and convert it into this is sort of pseudocode particular file formats that have been grouped into categories. And it says that what the preferred or the accepted formats are. So you now have kind of a machine-readable way of describing what's in this word. There are other potential uses. You may describe what happens to files once they've been ingested. You could define rules like files ingested in this format are going to get converted to this other format. And continue on describing the entire preservation planning process this way. There are lots of existing ontologies that this would kind of fit nicely in with. So the idea is not to bring them real, but just to describe a particular part of this process that doesn't currently have a table. In the Archivatica project, we've kind of moved towards this slowly. Archivatica has a preservation planning module. The first version of that was called the Format Policy Registry. It was designed as a kind of internal database that was exposed to the web application. I think this is typical in lots of digital preservation systems. You kind of build something that's custom to your application. The current version, the second version of this, was developed as a RESTful web service, which is a step better. Now you can query this format policy registry as a server and you get back JSON. And it keeps information about formats that are supported, what specific preservation tools are available, what commands are used to run those tools, what kind of preservation actions that you can take, so things like transcoding or extracting files or generating checksums, things like that. And it defines the rules that the institution has defined, and Archivatica is able to automate the process of following these rules. So what we're talking about is making a third generation of this system that will be based on linked open data. So the rules will be defined using this vocabulary, and you'd end up with an application that wouldn't necessarily just be used by Archivatica. Ideally, it would be used as a way of describing preservation rules in any system. So the goal of this project would be to develop this new open source project, separate from Archivatica. First off, just to generate the actual ontology, and then to reach out to other open source projects and other software vendors to look at adopting that vocabulary.
I won't do the impressions. And now for the final entry in the challenge, Polymedia. I'll let you get rid of that. Yeah.
No beers around the corner. That's another cool project to show you. So I'm Martijn. I was just here before showing this image and speech recognition tool that I presented. This is another project which really focuses on my personal research interests. So I'm an historian and involved in all sorts of media studies research. And in my department, a typical research question that my colleagues have is this, right? So how do media cover certain events, like political debates in this case? And we would like to know how they do it in newspapers, how they do it on the television, and how they do it on radio. Now, in the old days, let's say 3 years ago, when I was finishing my dissertation, I had to go to the National Library in The Hague. It took me almost 90 minutes to get there. Search through all the analog newspapers, right? Find these great stuff in these horrible binders. Find a particular article that I was interested in. And I could also actually read the radio bulletins, which were great resources. Actually, these markers on there, but it took me a lot of time and a lot of effort to find it. Then things got better, right? We have a lot of stuff has been digitized, a lot of stuff is digital born. So this is actually one of the most popular resources for my colleagues. It's the LexisNexis database containing a lot of text out of newspapers and magazines. Great, but also a lot of downsides. So I'm really interested in photographs and how pages are laid out. Well, one of the things that LexisNexis does not do is showing me the news in photographs or how the pages look like. So that's really a downside. Another resource that I use quite a lot is the academia database of Sound and Vision, which is really nice. It contains a lot of historical but also recent television programs. And I can visit it from home or from my office. The downside from that database, though, is that I have no clue which programs are in there. So I also don't know which aren't in there. And I also don't know how the research or how the algorithm works for the search engine. And it only uses the metadata that is available. So it's also not an ideal database, especially because I now have to go to all sorts of different databases that have information that is interesting for my research question, but I have no clue how these databases are working. And that is where Polymedia comes in. Because what we did with Polymedia, we created a portal where I could search through all the debates that were in the Dutch Parliament from the 1940s till 1995. I can type in any query that I want to. And Polymedia then automatically shows me all the related media items about that particular debate. So I don't have to go to the different websites or databases anymore. Polymedia shows it automatically to me. So how does it look like? You can look it up on www.polymedia.nl if you speak Dutch. It looks like this. There's a query box. You can type in any query that you want to. So I typed in another former Prime Minister. Apparently I have something that former Prime Minister has no clue about. But it's called Lubbers, and what you see is over here. This is the result page. In the middle you see all the debates where this name is mentioned. On the left you see facets. That's something that we created, so you can actually sort through all these results, because you can imagine there are a lot of debates and a lot of mentions of all sorts of people. But the really cool thing, the magic, is on the right side of Polling Media, because there it shows how many media items are in the newspaper or on the radio bulletins about that particular debate. So it automatically shows me which items are about this debate. So if we go one step further, if you click on one of those results, you get to this page, you can read the whole debate, we highlighted your query, and on the right side you see links to the media items about this particular debate. And once you click on it, you go to, in this case, the page that is located at the servers of the National Library. So we don't have these newspapers ourselves, we deep link to the National Library of the Netherlands, to that particular news item on that page. And the same goes for the radio bulletins. So that's already pretty cool, we think. And the thing is, we do not only use data that we were allowed to use because of our great content partners, but we also give data, or we share our data, because we really believe in, well, what we all do, I think, here, in open data. And we are typical users of open data, but we also created data by these links that we created to these news items. And these links are shared by us for everyone who is interested via Sparkle Endpoint. So a lot of people already mentioned what Sparkle Endpoint is, so I'm not going to explain that, but what you can do, for example, if you're going to the data via Sparkle Endpoint, is just a different research question saying, well, give me all the fragments of debates with over 60 related news items, right? So, and this is a type of research question that is of interest for media scholars. So what are the outcomes of Polling Media? Well, yeah, it works, really great, happy with it. But we were not able to link to television shows. All sorts of reasons, mainly metadata reasons. So that's something that we are keen on looking into. It is not perfect, nothing is perfect, so neither is our system. And we did some testing on it, but we still find it okay. So we did manual testing and we adjusted some parameters on it. It's open for everyone, so you can use it. By Sparkle Endpoint, and people actually use it, which we think is really cool. Because you build stuff, that's one thing, but if people are actually using it, it's really cool. And we see it on the stats, but we also saw it, for example, on this. This is an article that was published in one of the Dutch main newspapers, where the author said, well, another digital source I often use is Polling So we're on the also. I mean, this was for us really a great effort, and we immediately saw the stats going up. And actually, quite some teachers are now using it in their curriculum for learning students on how to get access to these digital databases. And we want to do more, right? We now only have radio and newspapers, which is already cool. There's way more out there. So we're very keen on expanding this project. For example, with social media, for example, with television, and or other sorts of reasons and recent data. So these are the wonderful people I was allowed to work with, and thank you very much for listening, nominating us, and especially having us here, because it's a great opportunity. And if you have any questions, especially about how we link this stuff, feel free to ask them, because I skipped this slide for time reasons. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the challenge presentation. So all the proposers have now got to sweat till 2:30 tomorrow afternoon, I think, when the deliberations of the organising committee will be made blatantly clear, and there will be prizes, which is awesome. So can we finish with a hand for all the presenters, and then we can hear about the social event.
All right, so thank you everyone. That's amazing. What happens next is at 5:30 at the Barracks Cafe, which I'll pull up the map too. I don't think I can talk anymore. We'll show you a map, but it's right around the corner. We'll We're going to have wine and beer and soft drinks available, as well as some food like snacks and appetizer kind of things. And that's until 7:30. And then after that, if you want to keep drinking and hanging out with people, there will be another thing, which is going to be, I can't remember where that was here, but we'll pull it up on here as well. So that is drinking about museums, where the Lodlam community intersects a little bit more with the museum community, open to the public. So, and tomorrow, we kind of have the same schedule in the morning. So we start at 8 for breakfast, correct? Correct? And then 9 o'clock, we'll do the same thing. So think about session ideas for tomorrow. We'll build on what we did today. You might have new things you want to talk about, things that were missed today. We'll do this. We'll go through the same procedure of creating our schedule tomorrow morning. So thanks everyone for an amazing day. We'll see you at the bar.
Hey.
Yeah.